Okay, we are here again with another movie review. I really enjoy this. And honestly, making YouTube videos is kind of fun. Once you just you're not tired all the time and you know, you know, all this other stuff we have to live with in society, right? Um, I, so here's the thing, right? I recently reviewed Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, right? Um, and now we're reviewing Turbo Rangers, right? Um, what's the official title? I don't think the official title's Turbo Rangers, is it? Oh, it's called Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, but they're basically called the Turbo Rangers. Um, and man, this movie is quite a good time, I tell you. Just another good time. Spoiler. Um, the thing about this movie, right? So the other Power Rangers movie, I think, what did I give it? I gave it a 7 out of 10, which some people are like, how could you give it a 7 out of 10 when they're giving I don't know, they're giving Thor Ragnarok like a 7 out of 10, which has better VFX. It's more modern. It's probably funnier, all this other stuff. But like I said, this is all about what I think. This is my Jacob Erie corners of the internet. So, I mean, if you don't like what I say, you can always turn it off, right? But that being said, um, I was really trying to think to myself, which one of these movies is better, like objectively better, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie or Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, the Turbo Rangers Power Rangers movie. Um, you know, it's hard to say. It's like one of those things where, so here's the thing, right? I really like the Harry Potter franchise. I watched the movies before I read the books. And with the Harry Potter franchise, two movies that I like out of all, I think, eight of those movies would be Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix, just because I think things get a little more drastic, a little more eerie. The stakes are a lot higher, and I think with both of these movies, even though I like Goblet of Fire more than Order of Phoenix, I don't know if I could say I like this movie more than the other one, but I really, really like this movie. Um, I will say this: the thing that the Turbo Power Rangers movie has going for it over the other one is that the Turbo Rangers costumes design is the best Power Rangers costume design ever. Nobody could ever dispute that. Um, Obviously you can because things are subjective. But like that's what I think. The second group of Power Rangers, because there's like what 16 plus or 20 plus different Power Ranger groups. Um, because Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, to anyone who doesn't know about the Power Rangers is like it's kind of like a generational slash it's like pseudo generational, pseudo mantle that gets passed down. But while there's always like a Red Ranger and like a Blue Ranger or whatever, and even a Yellow Ranger, the costume designs are always different. Some Power Rangers are like ninjas. Some Power Rangers are like police officers. Some Power Rangers are just just like the typical ones. They're like their own group. Could you say, I don't know if you could say they're spies or detectives or mercenaries or any of that stuff. They're just the Power Rangers, like I said in another video. And so Turbo Rangers have the best uniform. The second group that has the second best uniform design is the Space Rangers. Sadly, they don't have a movie, but they do have a TV show. A lot of these Power Ranger um, factions and groups, they all come from TV shows primarily, and like these Power Ranger movies were kind of just like, they got lots of financing, and then they decided to make a movie or whatever. And then the third group with the nicest design would be like something like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because they're kind of the original. Now you could make an argument for like, you know, the SPD, Emergency, the Ninja Storm, the Dino Thunder, um, and gosh, I don't even know if Power Rangers. I'm pretty sure Power Rangers is still going, but you know, just like how things go on with time, they'll never be as good as like the original, with the exception of some stuff. And so, let's talk about Power Rangers. I think, gosh, what were the? Okay, here's the thing. I believe, um, what was the cast of this? So one thing about Power Rangers, um, I'm hold on, I'm like typing on my phone. I'm trying to see what the cast looked like. Turbo Power Rangers movie cast, because I just could not get over what was it? Okay, so I remember when I was younger, right? I remember originally, this was like when I was like 10, okay? Like 10, um, 12, 11, whatever. I do say whatever a lot. No one's perfect. Um, so the things that I used to really think that was really neat about this movie is obviously the costume design, because me during Halloween, big Halloween spooky fan, you know, Jacob Erie, all this stuff. I would dress up as. Here's a sad story. A lot of times in Halloween, you know, I'd go with my family, sometimes with my friends, but most of the time I would go with my family. And there was this one Halloween, I don't remember what year it was. I was a red Power Ranger. I was the red Power Ranger of Ninja Storm, right? So like the samurai one or the ninja one. Um, and I remember I went trick or treating by myself, and I was walking by myself, and it was snowing, and I was all by myself. So imagine like this, you know, 9-year old, 10-year-old young Jacob Erie, you know, who want to be a Hollywood big shot or whatever, walking around trying to get that get that bag of that Halloween candy. Because one Halloween time, my favorite candies were always the lemon heads, the bigger ones, and then like, um, you know, the white chocolate, the Swedish fish, all that fun stuff. And then I remember sometimes coming back to the house, and I'd have like the DVDs of the movies that I'd like to watch the most, which would be like Looney Tunes Back in Action, Turbo Rangers, Mighty Morphin Rangers, which was on VHS. And the things that I really liked about that movie, even me being as young back then, which, you know, I wasn't as articulate or literate and self-aware of things I know now, but back then I really liked how, um in the Power Rangers movies, because all the Power Rangers do this, but they always dress like in coordination with like their color of like their Power Ranger uniform. So like if you're a Red Ranger, you wear the red T-shirt. You're the Pink Ranger, you wear the pink T-shirt, and then like they'd always be wearing like similar outfits, because if one of them was wearing a T-shirt, they'd like all be wearing a T-shirt, and then sometimes they'd wear like a button-up shirt. One of them would, but if like one of them was wearing like a full body suit, they'd all be wearing like a full body suit. Where it wasn't like the actual suit, and I thought the color coordination was always cool, because like that's like a neat. It's like a small detail that really like sets it apart from other franchises. Um, in the past 5 years, what I've learned about, you know, franchises and how they become popular is I'm starting to think, and I'm nobody can change my mind about this, that details matter way more than like the macro, like big essential parts of the story or the project that you're creating. because I think people like this is why people like lore. This is why people like canon. This is why people like dressing up and cosplaying all this stuff. And I remember another thing that I liked about this movie is that the Pink Ranger and the Yellow Ranger, which are who ladies. I remember me being a 10-year-old kid. I was like, damn, they're so hot. And I was just like, it's like I don't really care. But whenever I would see them on screen, I'm like, I do care. So it's me just this young Jacob, just always like crushing on these two girls. And another thing that I really liked about this movie is in this movie they have they're like uh it's not droids, it's their megazoids, the things that like transform into like the big like robot thing. um I was very self-aware that like the cars, because their zoids are cars, like actual cars. But the thing that I always like that used to crack me up is I always used to see those cars in this movie that they would use. But then I was always thinking to myself, like, why did I never see those cars like on the street? Like, and this is like what, anywhere between like 2005 to like 2010. And I used to always think to myself, like, did those cars like go out of like, did they stop making those cars, or like, is that like a car that only a rich person can get? And if you watch this movie, it's kind of funny because you'll look at the cars and you'll be like, they would never make cars like that. It's not that it's totally impossible, but they just, to a kid they might look really cool, but like, nah, nobody's buying driving off the lot with a car like that. Um, Even though one of the cars, I think it's the Green Ranger's car, it's kind of like a Land Rover or a Range Rover kind of thing, like Jeepish. So something like an Australian, like the Australians would. It's my yeah, that's my impression of Australians. I can't really do it right now. But yeah, those are some of the things I really liked about the movie. Pretty ladies, as a young kid, the suit design, the color coordination. Um, Now, there's always something I have to talk about that I don't like about all these movies that I review. So I'm sure you could see that there's a Blue Ranger. Blue is my favorite color, by the way, particularly navy blue. I'm more leaning that that the Blue Ranger on the screen, that might be royal blue, but it kind of is leaning towards like navy blue almost. It might be just like a perfect mixture of both, but who knows? And blue's always been my favorite color because my whole philosophy of that is that everything from clothes to cars to a house to food, and even, I mean, even food, and you're like, blue food? Like, what do you mean? Like, have you eaten blue food before? Yes, I have. Um, Everything looks good in blue. Um, the thing that I really don't like about this movie that I always thought was weird is that, so you, if you've never seen this movie, when you're looking at this background, you would think that all five of these people, the three boys and the two girls, are all adults, like, probably in their 20s or at least 18 or whatever. I don't even know how old they're supposed to be depicted in this movie, but you would think they're all adults. The Blue Ranger is like a like 15 or 14-year-old kid. And he's not like, when you Blue Rangers in like their suit, the Power Rangers are known for like having their Megazoids, having their cool costume designs, and then like their transformations. Transformations are very popular with like franchises like Naruto or Digimon or Pokemon or Power Rangers, huh? Right? So those of you who didn't know that. But when they transform, obviously the Pink Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, the Green Ranger, and the Red Ranger, they're all adults and they're all like, adult height or whatever. And then when they transform, it's like just a normal transformation, nothing too much. Now with the Blue Ranger though, he's like significantly shorter than the other four, and when he transforms, and when like it shows his transformation as like him in like a 14 or 15-year old's body, so someone who would be of that height typically. But then once like the helmet comes on, it does like this extra transformation where he like transforms and now he's in an adult body. So he's as tall as Tommy is, Tommy Oliver, which is Jason David Frank's character, the Red Ranger. And I always thought back then, I was like, why are they doing that? Like what? Like, because I always thought to myself, being a 10-year-old kid, you have some sort of self awareness. I know people like to act like children are idiot. Children are idiot. Children are idiots. I can't even talk. Um, but I just thought that was like the weirdest thing ever. And I'm like, why didn't you just cast like an adult like person like Tommy and all the other Rangers? And I don't know. I think I need to rewatch the movie again because I forget why the kid's even around. Some things we as human beings, we're all self aware to some stuff and then oblivious to other stuff. But I think I was oblivious to why he was, because I was just reminiscing when I was watching this again. I was just reminiscing of the cool suit designs and the funny things that were being said. Wasn't really paying attention to like all like the subtext and all of it. But yeah, this movie, I'm gonna I'm gonna have to give it a 7 out of 10. Is that fair? No, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because uh, is that fair though? You know what? It's still no, it's a 7 out of 10 because even though that whole weird thing with the Blue Ranger, like all of a sudden like just becoming an adult, it doesn't take away from like the movie of all the things that I like about it, and so it's a 7 out of 10.